Good morning. This is the Coach Steve Smith Show. Coach, welcome back to your own show.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, man. Appreciate you letting me come back.
Yeah, a little different angle today. Jeff is out doing some pastoral duties today as we are getting carpet in the sanctuary this weekend, hopefully. That's the goal anyway. Coach, let's just dive right into it. Every week it's the same thing with this conversation. Tough game, tough region.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. You know, had a tough one last week at JB Pennington. Came up a little short there, but there's no time to lick the wounds. You got to get back out there to work on Monday and get ready for the next one. You got a great Weaver team coming to our place, and we just got a flush last week, and then focus all our attention on this week is a must-win situation.
So your playoff starts this week,
right?
Really,
right?
Trying to bring. I need an abacus. Need to try to figure out who's going where. If this team beats this team, it's good. That's above my pay grade.
And I tell the kids all the time that we just need to try to control the things that we can control, and that's going to be the motto that we've got the rest of the way. You know, we just need to take care of business and win our games. We can't really control what happens in any other games, and the tiebreakers are so confusing it can hurt your head if you try to figure all of it out. So we just need to win each game that we play and then see where the chips fall after 10 weeks.
And a lot of time you can't pay really attention to schedules. To records. Weaver may be playing as good a football as anybody in the state right now. They come on. Their last
couple of weeks, they beat Locust Fork.
Yeah.
And Locust Fork is a different team than they were at the beginning of the year, obviously, without Dino. I mean,
sure.
that guy's one of the best players in the state in Class 3A. So, obviously, a lot of times when you try to look at, say, who beat who, this team beat this team, and then this team beat this team, or that team beat that team, in 3A football, it's not always apples to apples because you catch somebody and they got a couple of guys banged up, or somebody that's out for the year, or you catch them when they're full strength, or early in the season, or late in the season when everybody gets healthy. I mean, there's just so many different factors that go into it that you can't really read into that. And Weaver beating them on the road 2 weeks ago, and then last week at home having Piedmont on the ropes in the fourth quarter, and Piedmont scored a late touchdown to escape there with a victory. Kind of sewed the region up, I think, for Piedmont. I think they're undoubtedly number one, but I think everything from 2 through 9 is still to be determined. And 2, 3, and 4 being the playoff spots, but there's still spots 2, 3, and 9, 2 through 9 in our region are yet to be determined. Now Locust Fork is in the driver's seat for that second spot. I guess them and Welborn are tied with 2 losses apiece, and Locust Fork beat Welborn last week by 1 head-to-head.
Sure.
But everything is still to be determined as far as the seeding in this region after Piedmont at the top.
A lot of good football, and you said about Dino. I think he's a top player just in the state, regardless of what classification he's playing in.
Really good player. We saw him early in the year. I think it was week 3 when we went up there, and he was an electric player. Did a great job leading their team, and hats off to those guys for bouncing back after losing him. I guess it was week 6 against Piedmont. Any of us, when you lose a guy that's averaging 300 yards a game on the ground, any team in this region would be severely struck by that. Nobody has a next man up that is ready to fill those shoes completely. You preach it all the time as a coach, next man up, but sometimes that next man up is a little bit of a drop off from the senior leader that you're accustomed to seeing. So a lot of respect for Coach Adams and his group for the way they've been able to regroup and bounce back and win a close one against a really good Welborn team last week at home.
Well, let's talk about that just a second as far as the next man up, because a lot of teams. Very few teams have the next caliber, right?
Right.
And the next guy may be a total different player.
Right.
Exactly. A running quarterback now, you got a passing quarterback,
exactly.
So you have to change what he does best to
exactly.
fit. So it's not easy. Hey, Bobby Sims says, "Good morning, Coach."
What's up, Mr. Bobby? How you doing?
Yeah, great. You got Grant Skaggs watching.
Hey, that's some good fellas right there.
Got an Etowah guy, Bryant Cluntz watching.
Hey.
Your boy Bo Starkey's watching.
Hey. I'm just glad there's more than 3 or 4 people watching, and they're all my family members.
Everybody comes out for the old ball coach.
Yeah.
They want to see what you're going to talk about when it comes to X's and O's.
Yep.
Again, let's kind of break down the team a little bit. Right. This week, it's what are your expectations? What do you think Weaver's gonna? What are they going to try to do? I don't think they're going to change anything.
No, Weaver's got some of the most electric athletes in the region. Caden Gooden, the kid that's their quarterback / defensive back / kick returner.
Yeah.
He's played some running back. He's played some receiver. It seems like he's been playing at Weaver for 20 years. That name's been associated with Weaver football for a
Absolutely.
long time. And he's really a phenomenal player for them. And then they've got the Allen brothers that are at wide receiver. But I know the older brother's been a couple times state champion in like the hurdles and track. Really great athlete. They went through some injuries on their offensive and defensive front, but I want to commend them for the job they've done. Their replacements have really picked it up, and they've played really well the last couple of weeks. Like I said, they're playing their best football of the year right now. Definitely one of the most explosive teams in our region. Coach Kofor, old retired Georgia coach, I really like him and like what he's instilling there. He's a really good guy and a really good football coach. Their weight program, he's taking it back to another level as far as, the intensity they get in the weight room and stuff. We've shared some ideas on training and weightlifting and stuff, and I think he's done a really good job there at Weaver this year of getting them back on track. They'd had a couple 3-down years there where they weren't producing like what we had been accustomed to seeing Weaver do, and the way that he's got those guys playing right now, they can play with anybody in this region.
Yeah, I mean they're playing. From a coach's standpoint, you get ebbs and flow in the season.
Right.
But you prepare for you hopefully playing your best football at the end of the year.
Right.
So a lot of people tuning in. Coach Bo Starkey says hello. Nathan Pitts, Namath Pitts, watching from Connecticut.
All the way from Connecticut.
Yeah.
Namath's a great guy, man. I just miss having him around here in the local area. He was another one of those guys that had a lot of wisdom on the local sports scene, and glad to see him doing well for himself, though.
Good godly kid, man.
He's an awesome guy.
Yeah,
awesome guy.
I really think a lot of him. Sorry, you're getting a lot of trouble about the chicken biscuits this morning, Coach. Bobby missed breakfast apparently, and he's being scolded.
Hey, everything worked out great, man. It all worked out perfectly.
Oh, that's hilarious. So your mindset, obviously, do you take a playoff mindset this week with your guys? You're not one for putting extra pressure on the kid. It's a football game.
But I try to always be honest with them. Too.
Sure.
Each week along the way, we always talk about the next game's the biggest game because it's the next game. But this week it's got added importance. And like I said, I try to always be upfront and honest with them. And I tell them, hey, you want to make the playoffs, we got to win this week, period. There's no other way to cut it. There's no other scenarios. I don't want to start thinking about, well, if somebody upsets them. You want to make the playoffs, we've got to win this week just to have a chance for next week to be meaningful.
Sure.
Winning this week don't guarantee a playoff spot by any stretch, but losing this week will guarantee you're not going to make it. So, it is a put up or shut up time. It's do or die. All them cliches that you like to put out there, backed against the wall, whatever. You're in a corner. Any way you want to slice it, there is no tomorrow if we don't win this game this week. This week, if we can win this game this week, then it makes next week's game a playoff type game. But if we don't win this week's game, you ain't making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then our whole mindset this year has been, let's improve, make the playoffs. Once you get in that field, then anybody's got a chance. You see somebody every year just about in each classification that gets hot right at the right time. You look up, it's quarterfinals, and you're like, where'd that team come from?
Yeah.
That's what we've been preaching to our guys all along. You got to get in to have a chance.
Why not you? Why not us, right? That's the situation. So you got everybody just chiming in here. Carrie says, go Warriors, Coach.
Go Warriors.
Deanna Flanagan said, you've done a great job.
Well, I appreciate the compliments, but there's a lot still to be done for sure. And I'm really proud of our kids. I'm proud of our coach and staff. I'm proud of everybody that has worked hard to try to make this program, a formidable program in this region. And I can't say enough good things about all the help we got.
Man, you and Carrie's nerves. She's got a problem.
What's that?
You're on her nerves, right? This season is getting on her nerves, Coach. She
just needs to relax.
I know a place she can go. Absolute respiratory care, right? They can take care of her. She can sleep well. She gets that stuff going on. So let's talk about some of your guys.
Yeah.
Very talented bunch. Seems to be. It's like somebody else. I'm hearing their name mentioned week after week, right? It's been a different kid, a younger kid stepping up, getting some attention. Let's just talk about some of those younger kids that maybe you didn't even expect to be as impactful as soon as they are.
Well, before I mention any of the younger guys, our player of the week this past week for his performance at JB Pennington was Jackson Ramsey. Jackson Ramsey is a senior defensive back, a returning starter from last year for us. But as a coaching staff, we talked about guys that have made strides, and and up their game. And Jackson Ramsey has improved probably as much from last year to this year as anyone on our team.
Heck yeah!
And he's developed a leadership mindset. He's done a great job of being a guy that could give us someone that we could count on, all the time at another position of need. We've got great senior leadership from all 8 of our seniors, but I wanted to mention Jackson specifically because of his designation this past week as our coaches voted on Player of the Week for his performance at J.B. Pennington. He had 9 tackles, an interception, broke up a couple passes, but did a lot of things to help our team have a chance to win the game. So Jackson's somebody that probably hasn't got a lot of attention in the past because of the fact, he wasn't necessarily a captain or anything like that, but just a guy that has done a really good job for us this year, elevating his game. I'm proud of him. But some of the guys that you might not have they might not be household names. Guys that don't get their name in the paper a lot. Easton Skaggs is a freshman defensive lineman for us. He had a big game the other night at Pennington.
15 tackles, I think. I
think that was right.
Yeah.
In on a lot of plays.
Yeah.
Taylor Brown, Isaiah Hooten, 2 other guys that are on our defensive line. When you mentioned our defensive line at the beginning of the year, Jake Caney was kind of the headliner guy, the guy that was most returning experience. But Taylor Brown has stepped into a role of being a significant contributor for us. And then Isaiah and Easton are both freshmen that are working in that defensive line rotation. Another guy that don't get a lot of publicity, a kid named Jonathan Hirschman on our team. Plays on special teams for us. Has played some D-line and the varsity. A lot of his action's been on Monday nights with JV, but he's done a great job for us covering kicks. He had a big stick on the opening kickoff of the game the other night to kind of set the tone that we were going to be ready to play. You can a lot of times you can have the tone of the game set right there on the opening kickoff, but Jonathan's one of those guys never complains about what his role is. If you put him in the game in any leverage situation, any type of position, he's going to give you the best that he can to be able to contribute to the team. So he's another guy that might not be a household name that has really impressed the coaches this year. Parker Sims is another kid that throughout the course of the season developed some good chemistry with Sam Solly, our freshman quarterback, through JV. And Parker's a kid that has earned the right to get some opportunities on Friday nights. He holds for our kicker. We talk all the time about our kicker, Reed Barber.
Yeah.
But, a kicker a lot of times is only as good as his holder. So, man's got faith in Parker's our holder on our extra points and field goals, but he's also worked his way into some talk about receiver rotation. Beckham Hammondtree, kid that didn't play last year, as a 10th grader, plays a freshman, came back out this year. Last couple of weeks, he's had a couple of touchdown catches. He probably don't get talked about in the same sentences as the Brody Johnsons and the Bo Kilgos, the guys that's kind of our leading receivers. But Beckham has come on and give us a third receiving option out wide. Maximus Jones, Brody Wood in the backfield, they do a lot of the dirty work. They block a lot. They're involved in the passing game. Our run game the other night was not very effective at J.B. Pennington. We got to do a better job as an offensive staff, and that starts with the play caller, which is me. We got to do a better job being able to run the ball against the heavy pressure. And so, the statistics running the football last week were not where they need to be for us, but Brody and Maximus have done a really good job for us this year. So those are some guys that just, off the top of my head, I know I missed some people. Brooks Whiteside, he's been starting all year for us at inside linebacker. He played like the old Brooks Whiteside. He went through a little stretch right there where he wasn't really playing up to his potential, I didn't think, but he played the way that we expect him to play last week. Jackson Maratz, a sophomore outside linebacker, had probably his best game. Carter Cothran, sophomore defensive back, had his best game of the year. So a lot of guys that through the experience they've gained this particular season are playing their best ball at the end of the year, and that's what you want.
Mm-hmm. A lot of love here being shown, to J. Ram. Mm-hmm. They said Skaggs is a hoss. Bo Starkey has a question about your hair, Coach.
What about it?
I'll let you get into that, Bo, on your next.
Yeah.
Are you bringing it back, he says?
I got to follow Westbrook dress code. That's going to be my excuse, at least. You know what I'm saying? We need to be clean cut at Westbrook.
It's just like the Yankees, Coach, right? You got to have certain.
I don't want to be compared to anything to do with the Yankees. I'm not going to compliment the Yankees.
I tried. I'm
not going to compliment the Yankees, but.
That's not. Come on, Coach. You're a class guy. You could do that.
I'm not going to compliment the Yankees, though. I won't say anything bad about them. I'm just not going to compliment them.
Which is disrespectful and rude, Coach.
My mom always said if you couldn't say something nice, just don't say anything.
Man, your mother's never been on social media.
Well,
that needs to be the way it is on social media.
My mom's a good lady now. I'm going to tell you something. I never heard my mom say anything good about anybody.
Yeah.
Even if I could try to provoke her, she always, her comeback, no matter how bad the person was, she said, well, I bet his mama loves him.
See, that's a great comment. I've not had the pleasure of meeting your mother, but I've had some good conversations with your dad.
Interesting guy. My dad's a good fella, too. He's kind of wired like I am when it comes to competing.
He's a smart cat. He knows ball.
Yeah.
He knows ball.
Oh, trust me. He gives me advice all the time.
Do you take it?
Sometimes I actually do, but I don't let him know that.
You can't give him that.
No, I love my parents, man. I'm very blessed to have a great mom and dad, that's for sure.
I'll say this, that I don't know that I've ever had a conversation with you that you had talked about your parents in some way.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, that's who I am. I mean,
yeah.
They brought me into this world.
And she'll take you out.
Well,
you heard that story, right?
I still have the ultimate respect and fear of my parents. And it's a good kind of fear.
No.
But that's what it's supposed to be.
Someone says, I won't name her name. Thanks for being a sponsor. The mullet belongs in Piedmont.
Well, looking back on it, I thought I worked pretty well for 50 plus year old guy.
Man, between you and Gundy,
yeah,
ain't nobody wear better.
Well, it was I look back on that. I thought, what was I thinking? But anyway,
it was great. It was great. Let's talk about your quarterback room.
Yep.
Because I know you're always a big picture, long term guy.
Right.
So you're in the season, but you're thinking down to the JV level, everybody in the quarterback room, or whoever you're coaching. But let's just talk about the quarterback room. You're a man who loves competition. You mentioned that about your dad.
Right.
Talk about the competition you try to develop with your young kids, even your starters in the varsity kids in your quarterback room.
Well, not just in the quarterback room, just across the board in general. You don't ever want people to get complacent.
Sure.
You don't ever want people to get comfortable, because when you get comfortable, you quit trying to work to get better. And, so the quarterback position gets a lot of the look because of the importance of that position as it's perceived by everyone involved. But, we're very lucky that we've got some guys in that room. Bo Kilgo, who's playing receiver for us, was actually a quarterback last year. We moved into receiver this year to give us the best chance of getting the best people, best playmakers on the field. Brody Blevins is a sophomore. Sam Solly is a freshman. Both of those guys have an extreme amount of talent. What they do, their skills or their skill sets are a little bit different, but I think both of them have worked extremely hard to improve in the areas that they needed to improve. Our quarterbacks are going to be guys that's going to be able to throw it and run it.
Yeah.
And both of them have worked extremely hard to be able to improve in their non-dominant areas. I mean, not like a genius to figure out. Brody is a hard-nosed, tough runner.
Yeah.
Sam is a stand-in-the-pocket, big-arm passer. But to be effective for us, Brody has really worked extremely hard to improve his passing game. His deep ball has improved a ton. And Sam, if you watch him, the times he's got in the varsity games and in the JV games, his running skills, he's so much faster and quicker than he was. He's more physical and tougher.
Someone said that to me when they were talking about Sam, and it wasn't his passes during that game. They said, wow, they impressed him with how he ran the football and that he ran hard.
Yep.
I didn't get to see him last year in any JV or anything, so I wasn't sure, but they were impressed there. What about your younger kids? What about from your peewee up to the middle school?
No doubt, man. We're extremely blessed to have guys that are willing to buy into what we try to do. Sam Legg is our 8th grade quarterback. He had an injury midway through the season that kind of knocked him out for the remainder of the year, but another one of those guys that can do both, extremely tough, hard-nosed. Sawyer Kroll, which is Brody's oldest son, is our 7th grade quarterback. He kind of took over that role after Sam went down. Sawyer is a great kid that works extremely hard.
He's in the 7th grade already?
7th grade,
wow.
and he's got a really good ball that he throws, obviously.
His dad knows nothing about football, right?
So if the Kroll boys can't throw the football, then I got a problem with Brody, you know what I'm saying? But Sawyer really came on as the year. Our junior high coaches were very pleased with the progress that he made, and then next year stepping into that 8th grade role, we're going to expect big things out of him on the middle school team, and then all the way down to our Pee Wee team. Will Hughes is a guy that's taken the majority of the snaps, but Ridge Reeves is another kid that can play the position, and then Luke Kroll. the 5th grade, little brother, all those guys, So I told them I've always taken pride in getting to work with quarterbacks, and I've been blessed over the course of every stop I've made of having a lot of guys that were really good at those positions.
You've had one or two over the years.
Yeah, we've had some really good ones over the years, and somebody was talking about we had a couple of kids that signed Division I when I was at Cedar Bluff, coming from a 1A school, and then somebody said, Coach, you had a run there where you had 5 out of 7 years where you had the 3A back of the year was your quarterback. Had state record holders and things like that. When you got people with that kind of ability, you just, as a coach, you don't want to mess it up. And, even last year, our first year at Westbrook Christian, Grayson Carroll was our quarterback, and he gave us everything he had last year and threw his body around like a 240-pounder, and he weighed like 140.
What a great kid.
Great kid. And then this group of kids that we got coming now, from 11th grade, Bo Kilgo, who could still play quarterback for us in an emergency situation if we had to have him, and then Blevins in 10th and Solly in 9th, Legg in 8th, Old Croyle in 7th, those guys Reeves and Hughes I mentioned in 6th, and then Little Croyle in 5th. I mean, it's a good situation to have, but the other thing about it, and this is what I've been the most pleased by, we're going to get the best guys on the field. And so a lot of times these guys, they're quarterbacks as far as what they're working, but if they can help us somewhere else on the field, at receiver, at safety, at linebacker, whatever it takes, we're not going. No good to have 4 quarterbacks on the sideline when 3 of them can be helping you somewhere else. So just buying into that team first philosophy, and being a team player and saying, hey, whatever we need to do for the team to be successful, count me in. That's what makes it special, and that's what I really like about all those kids that we just mentioned.
Yeah.
We were talking about that particular position.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about all those guys is they're team first guys, and they want to buy in. They believe in what we're trying to sell, and they're bought in 100%. And I'm very proud of all of them for the contributions that they're making.
I wish I could remember where I read this quote or who said the quote, but it was the best 11 don't play. It's the 11 best that play together.
That's a great point.
I can't take credit for it. It'll come to me that I was watching something or reading something, and I'm like, that really stood out to me. I'm like, not enough to know who said it, but it was a great point. It makes sense because it's the best team. Some great athletes don't want to play certain positions that that could help the team. So it's the best team 11.
Well, don't ever be fooled into thinking that everybody is playing for your team. That's it's the world that we live in. I mean, it's the mentality of what's best for me, and again, I don't put anybody down that really wants to go on to the next level, because that's a goal of every kid that plays. I mean,
you play the next level,
and I didn't play because I was hoping to go to the next level, but it was an opportunity that was afforded to me, which in turn helped me get my education paid for, and in turn helped me become a coach, and in turn built some networks there with those guys that have been instrumental in me being able to get a job here or there. So sports were big in my mind, and I didn't play sports to try to go to college. I played because I loved it. Me and Coach Wester, our basketball coach, was just talking the other day. If you'd asked me what was my favorite sport, it would have been typically whatever was in season.
Sure.
I wasn't even any good in basketball, but from December till end of February, basketball was my favorite sport, and then if it was baseball season, baseball was my favorite sport, and so we play because we just enjoyed the game, we enjoyed the competition, we enjoyed being out there with our buddies, all those things that made playing high school sports so fun and memorable.
Yeah.
Unfortunately today, a lot of kids are playing because their parents or somebody's pressuring them that, hey, if you don't make it to the next level, then you aren't successful. And I try to tell people all the time, there's nothing wrong with just being a really, really good high school football player.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, and enjoying your time. And when football season's over, go play basketball or run indoor track. When that's over, go play baseball, soccer, or golf, or run track. Play whatever's offered and be a kid and enjoy your time in school, because you don't get it back. And when you get to be our age, you wish that you could go back and do things over. Know what you know right now back then. Oof. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way.
You're one of the. It's not every head coach doesn't feel the same way you feel. Although I think some are starting to come around. kids should not be focusing on one thing.
No.
I hear you all the time. Hey, go play this. Go to just like you did, just like you're just talking about.
Right.
And if you don't play basketball, hey, go play track. Go run track.
Run
or do something
indoor
like
track. There's something going on.
Yeah, and it's going to help you in the sport that you love the most. Say football is your best sport. You can get ways to get better doing these other things.
Well, I fully understand. We got 61 kids on the roster at Westbrook. Football is not all 61 of those kids' favorite sport.
Sure.
And I tell them, it don't have to be your favorite sport. It just needs to be your favorite from August to December. I mean, and again, the mentality of it is, you know, I'm giving you everything I got, and I'm gonna lay it on the line for my teammates, and I'm gonna love this. And hey, when football season ends, I'm gonna shift gears. I'm gonna shift mindset. Now I'm gonna play this, and that's gonna become my favorite thing. And I think that's a good way for kids to live their lives, because when you're banking on everything falling in one basket, though, don't put all your eggs in one basket philosophy.
Who can afford eggs, Coach?
Well, yeah. Well, then when it doesn't come to fruition, then other people might view you as underachieving, and then you start thinking of yourself as an underachiever or a failure. And you know, it's kind of like I talk about all the time with the Pee Wee football. In Pee Wee football right now, some kids are just bigger and faster than everybody else. They've grown quicker. That gap don't stay that way. I've never seen a Pee Wee football hero that still dominated the competition to the same extent when they got to high school.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what automatically happens, a lot of people says, well, that guy, he quit working hard. Well, no, he probably still kept working just as hard as he always has. Everybody else grew, got faster, and caught up with him just in the natural flow of life. And so, you know, if your biggest memento in life is you were the Pee Wee football hero, I don't know that you leave high school very happy with that.
Look at Al Bundy. Didn't work out well for him. Shoe salesman.
I don't get that, but
Married with Children joke, Al Bundy.
I don't watch that.
Sorry. So, y'all help coach you. I thought for sure back in the mullet days you would have
watched
Married with Children.
No.
Let's talk about something else football position wise that I don't know. I'm guilty for not talking about it enough. We talk about kickers. You brought the holders. Talk about the snappers.
Yeah.
Can't have any of it without those guys. Talk about your group of snappers.
Taylor Brown is the guy that handles our long snapping.
Yeah.
Bo can long snap. Brooks Whiteside can long snap. You know, those guys, they're only noticed when they mess up.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
The only time you really even pay attention to who's snapping, I would say 50% of our fans that are not related to Taylor Brown have no idea that he's the long snapper right now.
Yeah.
But snap one over the punter's head and have to fall on it for a safety. Yeah. Or snap one over the holder's head and you have to pick up the ball and you don't get your extra point. And the conversation immediately turns to, who snapped that ball? So, you know, Taylor Brown, and this is funny, between me and him, you got one job. He knows what his one job is. You got one job. But I understand the seriousness of that position and having somebody that's capable and reliable.
Sure. But
the average fan probably don't know that's who it is, but it's number 51, Taylor Brown, and he's done a really good job for us all season long. You know, and it goes unnoticed by most unless he messes up.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that you being a quarterback, I guess you've always kind of have a special relationship with your center.
Yeah.
Right? You talk about a chemistry.
Yeah.
It doesn't start there. I mean, if it doesn't start there, there's issues.
Well, I played back in the golden ages when everybody was under center, you know, so the snap was he wanted me to get the snap. Trust me, my center wanted me to cleanly catch the snap just as much as I wanted to cleanly catch the snap. That'll make sense to you later on.
Yeah.
But in the area of shotgun formation, it's kind of the same situation. You know, Cooper Lancaster has probably snapped 400 balls this year, but people are going to remember the 2 or 3 low ones or the one that goes over the quarterback's head. You know, he's probably operating at about 97, 98% efficiency, but snap one over the quarterback's head tomorrow night, and we had to foul on it for a loss of 15. And not only is it going to be the people in the bleachers going to be going, oh, come on, I'm going to be chewing him out. I'm going to be yelling at him. I'm going to be screaming at him. But, you know, those guys are kind of unsung heroes, and we can't run our offense if we don't have a snap.
You know, I can see where that would be problematic.
But I want to commend Cooper for doing a good job for the 98% of the year that the snap's been right there where we could run the play.
Heck yeah. Who was your center? Let's go back. Let's go Cherokee County. Who was your?
My senior year, our center was Chad Gladden. Chad was a sophomore when I was a senior. His older brother Lee and I were in the same grade. And Chad wound up signing with the University of Alabama as an offensive lineman.
Okay.
And so he was down there, I guess, from 90 to 93 as an offensive lineman at Alabama, maybe. But it was funny because I was 5'11" roughly, and Chad was about 6'5". And so when I would get under center with him, I couldn't bend my knees. If I bend my knees, I was too low. So
that's a real quarterback sneak right there.
Yeah,
right?
but you know, I'll tell you, I was blessed to play behind a super good offensive line. We had 2 offensive linemen that signed with Jacksonville State, 1 offensive lineman that wound up signing with Auburn his senior year. Chad signed with Alabama, and we had a tight end that went to Samford. So it was pretty difficult for me to have problems as a result of offensive line
You couldn't
play.
blame the blocking issue there.
No. They could block, and then you had the Houstons and Pat Tram on the backfield, and Coach Johnson's son Mark that signed with Auburn was a receiver.
Yeah.
So I couldn't complain about a lack of talent around me. In fact, we had an extremely talented group around me.
Heck yeah.
And then our other linemen, the guys that might not have went to college, early in my career, Brad Russell was my center. And he was a guy that, I mean, he'd take on anybody at any time, any place, you know, and that kind of mentality that we had we had him, Joey West, David Bradley, some other guys that played on the offensive line for us that weren't college players, but they were just mean, really good high school players. Going back to what we was talking about a few minutes ago, nothing wrong with just being a really good high school player, and those guys, they got after it.
Yeah, people really only talk offensive line, defensive line when they're not making plays.
All right, my favorite thing is when the quarterback gets sacked and you got some mom up in the buzz, come on, line, block. You know, they just state now. I heard that Tuesday night at the Pee Wee game. I hear it Monday night at junior high. You know, anytime somebody gets tackled in the backfoot, it's come on, line, block. A lot of times in your pass protection, the backs are supposed to be blocking. The quarterback's supposed to get rid of the ball. If it's a blitz guy, if it's a hot route, the receiver's supposed to break the route off. There's a lot of times more goes into it than just the line ain't blocking, but it's the obvious cheer from the bleachers when things don't go good that the line must not be blocking. And that one and the DB that he covers his guy 50 times during the course of the game, and 47 times he blankets him, but them other 2 times they're behind him for a touchdown. It's can't we get somebody back there that can stop that? I mean, it's
nothing to do with what coverage you were actually working or who had what.
Well, and like again, defensive back, you can do it right 47 times out of 50, but those other 3 can be 3 big plays, you know. And again, everybody remembers the bad.
That's why they say have a short memory, right? At quarterback and defensive back.
You got to.
Hey, let's transition just a little bit. Let's talk about some of the support staff on your team that we really don't talk about very much.
Yeah, Chet Phillips, you know, is our strength and conditioning guy. He's been at Westbrook now for 9 years.
Good
and
dude.
Coach Phillips is a great guy.
Yeah.
Very knowledgeable about his content and all. And we've been able for the last year and a half to give him. He come in the other day and he was just excited because he had these printouts of our weight charts and how much weight we gained, and he was pumped up as I've ever seen because he had data. He said, I've actually got consistent data.
Oh, that's incredible.
He told me I can't even remember how many weigh-ins. It's something over 1,500 weigh-ins in the last 6 weeks, and time the players are weighing in before practice, after practice, and he's coupling that with all the weigh-ins from last year. But, you know, he's found his niche in the weight room, strength and conditioning. He's one of those new age guys that, you know, I asked him how fast our guys run. He says, well, now he hit 19.6 miles an hour, and I had to tell him, I'm not NASCAR. I want to know, is it 4.7, 4.8, what are we running? But Chad is really, really good at that, and he don't get a lot of the credit that he deserves. Yeah. And, you know, it's a great opportunity for me to give him a plug there for the work that he puts in with our athletes. Kurt Durier is another guy. I've given him that now common title of Director of Football Ops. But Kurt, anything from filming to scouting other opponents to shooting balls out of the ball machine when we're doing special teams drills. Cleaning. I left the field house this morning. He was cleaning up in the field house, getting the balls ready for tomorrow night. I mean, just anything and everything that needs to be done as it pertains to football. Kurt Durier. So Kurt and Chad are 2 guys that don't get the pat on the back that they deserve, the way that they need to be recognized, and I hope to be able to do that a little bit and let them know how special they are to our team.
Randy Weiss has said, Phillips knows weight training like the Pope knows white hats.
I think
I'm
that's
assuming
a good.
that's a lot, right?
That's a good analogy right there. That's a good analogy.
And another great coaching segment from the bleachers: go hit somebody.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, hit somebody.
Sorry, good.
But our junior high team just finished up 7-1 season.
Oh, yeah.
And want to make a mention of Matt Brown. He's our head junior high coach. Does a great job. Helps us out on Friday nights with play chart and then getting the input into our computer system so that we can go and grade the film. And then Coach Renell Wester, who's our varsity basketball coach, helps with our junior high football. Tristan Scripps and my son Sean Smith were assistants on that junior high team. Those guys put in a lot of time and effort, many hours, and their role is to get people ready for varsity. They don't have a junior high state championship to play for. Their job is to be behind the scenes people getting guys ready for varsity, and they do a wonderful job. I'm very thankful for them. And then, when you go to support, you start trying to talk about people. I name people. I'm sure they missed somebody, but you got 4 or 5 guys that are in the press box every Friday night, from announcing the spot and to running the scoreboard, running the video board. You got a chain crew that's there, reliable each and every week.
Well, some schools that's a topic right there.
Listen,
can you hear the PA? We need 3 people to report to the chains.
Man, you've hit a pet peeve for me right there. Varsity football Friday night, that should never happen in any community. There should be some people that are just reliable, that they're going to have the chains, but that don't happen everywhere, and I don't want to take it for granted. But we got 5 guys that rotate out on our end that is very, very dependable, that are true fans of our team, and I appreciate them.
It's a great place to watch a game.
No doubt. You hear a lot of interesting stuff, I'm sure, on the other sideline, but just the people that do things like that, people that clean up in the stadium afterward. Just a lot of people pay their $10, come to the game, and they just expect everything. Concession workers that are there 2 hours before the game getting ready, the SRO officer that's helping the other team when they get there, showing them where the dressing room's at, the people taking up the gate. Just so many different folks that have a role on Friday night. There's probably 30 people that have a role on Friday night that if they're not there, then somebody else. It's something I've been preaching to our team all year long. Take pride in what your job is, and when you're gone, whether it's sickness or whatever it might be, your job still has to be done, and somebody else has to pick up the slack and do your job. And so no matter how significant you think your role is, you might just be a scout team corner, that your job is on Tuesday and Wednesday to give the offense a look on what the other team's going to be doing. Don't relate into a whole lot of playing time maybe on Friday night, but your job is important, and if you're not there on Tuesday to do it, it still has to be done. Somebody else has to take up the slack and do it. And it's the same for coaches and those other support personnel we talked about. Have a game where the chain toters just say, we're going to go on strike. We're not going to do it. You know what we're going to be doing? We're going to be on the intercom saying, hey, we need 3 people to volunteer to tow the chains. And I'm going
exactly right.
As soon as that happens at any place that I'm coaching at, I'm quitting. We're not going to make an announcement.
Get the chains.
We're not going to make an announcement that we need chain toters.
Hey, we talked about this briefly early on in some of the shows, but Bo's asking, what's it really like being around Sean coaching this year?
Oh, it's been a joy, man. Sean's really bright, got a bright future as far as coaching. He's mine. I guess I'm what's that word? Partial. I almost said prejudice. I almost used the wrong word.
No, you can use
but
prejudice toward him.
I'm partial toward him, but he is an outstanding young mind in football. He's got a lot of suggestions like young coaches do, and every now and then I have to tell him that, hey, that's a great idea, but we don't do that. But he's been tremendous for us. He's really blended in well with the kids at Westbrook. I think he's got a great rapport with those kids, and I'm very thankful to have gotten an opportunity to coach my boys in football and in middle school baseball. The last couple of years, though, has been really special with watching him grow as a coach, and I thank Coach Wester and Coach Scripps and Coach Brown for kind of bringing him in and molding him. I'm thankful for all our varsity coaches who pour into him. He drives himself down every day, obviously, because he's not there all day like me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times I'll leave to come home, and he stays at the field house because he's in there hanging out with those other older coaches and just trying to listen and learn and gain knowledge from them. So, I'm a big believer of I don't know everything, and so having other guys that's willing to pour into to my children, I'm very thankful for all the folks that have poured into him and Sloan and Savannah over the years, because it's important. In my opinion, it's important to have other people that you can go to aside from your mom and your daddy to get sound advice, and we're very fortunate to have a lot of folks that have poured into our own children's lives. Rachel and I are very thankful for that.
Somebody wants to know, does he ever get animated during the games, Coach? Does Sean get animated?
I don't know, because on the varsity games I put him in the press box, so he's not down there. At least if he's in the press box, it's only at halftime and before the game that he's giving me suggestions. You know, so I don't wear a headset or anything, so he has to pour all his suggestions on somebody else and all. But I would imagine he's got a competitive streak that kind of gets to him, and probably sometimes maybe a little overboard. But it's hard for me to say anything to him. But I wasn't near as mature at his age as he is.
Who's some of the people that poured into you when you were just first getting into coaching, like Sean's age now?
Yeah, my first coaching job was actually back at my alma mater, Cherokee County High School. I say that my very first coaching job, I was a student assistant at JSU in 1992, so I got to learn under Coach Maniscalco, the offensive coordinator, of course, Coach Burgess.
Fantastic coach.
Jay Brown was the guy that recruited me. Wayne Lee, who's on my staff here at Westbrook, he was a defensive backs coach at JSU at that time. So I always give him a hard time. He's a lot older than me, but you know, a lot of those guys invested in me. And then my first coaching job out of school was back at my alma mater, Cherokee County High School, which what everybody knows it as now. To me, it was Center. Yeah. Jeff Bullen had gotten the head coaching job there. He had a successful run at Cedar Bluff. And so he and Brian Johnson and Coach Wester, that's with me right now, and myself, we were the staff there in his first year at Cherokee County High School. And so I got to work with all those guys. And then I worked for 1 year at Coosa in Rome, Georgia. A guy named Steve Adams was my head coach. And
Randy just made mention of that.
Yep. And
both you guys were.
We were at Coosa. Randy Vice taught at Coosa.
And Wester.
And Wester, we weren't all there at the same time. Wester was at Coosa before me.
Okay.
And by the time I got to Coosa, Wester had come back to Center as the basketball coach. But Neil and I graduated, or he's 2 years older than me, but we were friends in high school. And like I said, his first job was at Coosa, and then he had come back to Center, and then I got hired at Coosa a couple years later, and Randy was at Coosa. Got to know, I still give Vice a hard time, but they practiced soccer in the front yard of the school. Right out there between the school and the 4-lane was where they had soccer goals set up and all. But, you know, got to work around a lot of guys that were really good men, number one, that tried to give you sound advice. And then I mentioned in some previous shows, you know, people like Rusty Jackaway at Sandrock, even though we were big rivals when I got back to Cedar Bluff, and that was a game that they wanted to win as bad as any game. We wanted to win as bad as any game. He would take the time to work with me and give me some advice and things. And, of course, Coach Johnson, Coach Burgess, the guys I played for, they were always open door policy. I can't tell you how many times I went to either one of them about, hey, how you go about doing this. Bobby Mintz, my first principal at Cedar Bluff, who was the coach right before me. The 2 years that Jeff Bullen was at Center, Bobby was the head coach, and then Bobby elevated to principal. You know, gave me a lot of great advice and wisdom on how to handle situations, because I've talked at length many times about all the failures the first year I was a head coach and just being young and dumb. Joe Carpenter, Jason Howard, Dwayne Pierce, Doug Davis, Patrick Walker, Dennis Welch, all guys that I coached with at Cedar Bluff for some period of time that were all supportive, advice, those types of things that we could bounce ideas off each other. So it's like I tell young coaches all the time, you know, get as much experience as you can. A lot of times it's good to have it from different places. I said you'll draw from everybody that you work with or work under. Sometimes it's things you want to make sure that you copy and implement when you're in charge. Sometimes it's things that you may not want to do it that way. You may learn from somebody that this is not the way I want to do it. But
that's still a lesson learned.
It is. You can learn a lesson from anybody that you work with and work under. And so just very thankful for all the people that have invested in me over the course of the years, and then in turn trying to pay it forward with investing in young coaches. And you know, I'm a little different than a lot of people. I'm not real paranoid about people knowing what we do. Some of the best compliments I've got is people want to come watch practice. Some of my former players want to come watch practice. They want to be coaches, or they tell me they want to be coaches, and they want to come sit in for a day or a week and see how we do stuff. I think that's part of the coaching fraternity. It's part of your duty and responsibility is to be able to prepare the next level or the next wave of coaches. And, you know, so just having that opportunity to hopefully pass on some of the things that have been passed on to me. I tell people all the time I don't have all the answers, but I do, through the good Lord let me do it for 33 years. I have gained a little bit of experience over the course of hand, and and be able to tell you how not to do some things that I messed up on.
You've been involved in a game or two.
A few.
Let's see. Kevin Johnson says Coach's family always brings the animation.
Yeah, they got to see. Locust Fork got pretty intense there in the fourth quarter, and I'm hearing some people that's just going crazy over my shoulder on the bleachers. I usually don't hear stuff on the fence. Excuse me. I usually don't hear stuff like that during the game, but that's just somebody that's deathly quiet, and they're just giving the officials the business. And somebody said, "Who is that guy?" I look over and I said, "That's my son." That was my middle child, Sloan. And they said, "There's a blonde-headed lady over there. She's giving it back like they are." And I looked over and I said, "That's my wife." So we checked all the boxes. Competition and winning is very important at our house.
No doubt.
One thing I'm very thankful for, my family has been tremendously supportive all the years I've coached, and when we lose, they lose. It hurts them just as much, I think, as it does me. And so, that's one of those things I don't want it to ruin their day, but at the same time, I got a little bit of pride in the fact that they're I know that they're in the boat with me.
Heck yeah. Anything in closing, Coach? We're just going to say, come out. This is a huge game, and there needs to be a ton of loud Warrior fans in the stands. Yeah,
it's senior night. You don't want to forget to mention that senior night for a great group of senior players, band members, cheerleaders, cabaret. We will recognize all those folks on the field before the game. I think Miss Neal and we talked about, I think 6:30 is when we'll start gathering up, and 6:35 we'll try to start our introductions of our seniors. Want to say a special thank you to and mention those guys by name. Our seniors this year, we mentioned Jackson Ramsey a little bit earlier, but Max Legg and Noah Wright, 3 defensive starters for us that are seniors. And then we've got Ian Shaw, Albert Ade, and then Cade Kirkpatrick, Hudson Lowe, and Cade Sanders, Eric Kirkpatrick, and Hudson Lowe, 3 guys that play a lot on our offensive line. Those are our 8 seniors, and we are extremely appreciative of the time and effort that they've put in to help build this program. They've done a great job for us this year as leaders on and off the field, and so we want to make sure that we get a plug in there for all those guys. And like I said, we have our band, cheerleaders, and cabaret that also their seniors will be recognized as well in one big ceremony before the game on the field. So I try to get everybody be in the bleachers and be in your seat by 6:35 so we can give those kids proper recognition. I know a lot of people like to get there right at kickoff, but I'd love to have a big full house to be able to recognize those kids and thank them for their work.
Last thing about your family, Coach, another question here. Let's talk about Sloan's Grand Slam against Gordo.
And
both Starkey asked that.
Well, it's just, you got those moments, and I've been very thankful to get to experience some big-time wins and championships and stuff with your kids on the field.
Yeah.
And big time that Savannah's had pitching and performances in the biggest moments, or Sean's had big plays or at bats in the biggest moments, and getting to watch them be successful and achieve. I got to say that Grand Slam for Sloan against Gordo probably is right up there at the top of all of them, just because if you had known Sloan from the time he started playing ball up, he was always the smallest one out there, and we always used to give him a hard time. He was playing in the yard. We had what we call the short porch over in the left field side when we was playing wiffle ball, and he could get one. He could get one over the short porch every now and then. But just to see a kid that had never hit a home run, I'm talking about practice, game, any level, over the fence home run, never hit one in his life, and he's playing in the biggest game in his life, quarterfinals, game 1 of series against a really, really good Gordo baseball team, and I think we were down 5-2, and he hit a grand slam and put us up 6-5, and we wound up winning the game like 7-6. But to get to experience that moment and be there in person and watch it happen, it's kind of unbelievable in a sense, because you just didn't expect that. We want 2 outs, we want Sloan to get a hit, keep the inning rolling, get it to the next guy, and to come up with that big hit, and then to watch him. I told him he combined every home run trot I've ever seen into one, because he hit the ball, and I think a lot of us were kind of like, what just happened? He knew it was gone. He come right out of the box with a Sammy Sosa hop, and so he popped and flipped the bat over toward the dugout, and he's rounding in first, making the big turn. David Dearman's coaching first base, which him and Sloan are big buddies, and he was excited for him. They hit a high five over there, and he's going towards second, and he's hitting a little skip, and he's got a little got a little, I don't even know who that was, but had a little, some kind of little skip. He come around in the second, in the third, and there at Piedmont, they got a group called the Rowdy Porch Gang that hangs out on the back of the football stadium that overlooks them. He hit the Dansby Swanson point to them, and then I don't know what that little strut was that he was coming between third and home, but it was something that was pretty cool. But
That's
it's just,
fantastic.
like I said, I've got that clip on my phone. It's something I look at from time to time, and it just it brings a lot of joy. But man, that was a great moment.
Great dad moment right there.
No doubt.
Again, lastly, come out, support. It's going to be a great night of high school football. The weather's going to be fantastic.
Yes.
Come support. Get there early. Be in your seats by 6:30. Support all the seniors. And, Coach, I'll let you close the show out.